Sunscreen is good, right? We're told it prevents skin cancer and aging. So what's all the articles and social media posts saying it's toxic, it's dangerous, it contains cancer-causing ingredients and blocks our skin from producing natural vitamin D, which makes us sick? What are we meant to do or believe?
Stop using sunscreen, okay? The sunscreen chemicals seep into your bloodstream after just one day.
Some ingredients in mainstream sun creams can accumulate in our tissues, and when they're heated, they can turn into free radicals which can cause oxidative stress and damage our cells.
Welcome back to my channel. Let's take a deep dive. Quick recap of the history of sunscreen. It started in the 1930s. In 1955, the connection between sun exposure and melanoma was confirmed. In 1970s, the link between UV radiation and DNA damage and mutation was discovered. Also that year, the FDA began the SPF system. However, they don't actually test individual sunscreens, they just set the standards which must be followed by the companies. At that time, scientists assumed that sunscreen just sat on the skin and couldn't penetrate it. In 1975, the mechanism of how our skin produces vitamin D when exposed to sunlight was discovered. In the 1980s, the SPF system was introduced in the UK and had a major effect on public attitudes to sun protection. Jump forward to 2015, and a study performed on mice showed that nanoparticles from titanium dioxide, which is widely used in hundreds of cosmetic and sunscreen products, can be absorbed through the skin or by inhaling and penetrate the blood-brain barrier. The following year, the EU and the Australian government came out to say that nanoparticles were completely safe. Unsurprisingly, a 2017 survey by the Cancer Council Australia found that almost half of Australians were confused about sunscreen, with 17% believing that sunscreen ingredients are bad for health and 20% feared it reduced their natural vitamin D from the sun. But 2021 was a pivotal year for the public perception of sunscreen safety. Firstly, 78 sunscreen products in America were found to contain benzene, a known carcinogen found in cigarette smoke and exhaust fumes. Secondly, the FDA proposed that 16 chemicals, which were at the time classed as generally regarded as safe and effective, should be removed from this safe list. Their own clinical trials showed that many of these ingredients are absorbed into the bloodstream at levels above the concentration threshold the agency has set for determining potential cancer risk. They found traces of these ingredients on the skin and in the blood many weeks after usage. The truth is, we don't yet know what the long-term effects are. Urine samples from over 2,000 US citizens were tested and 96% contained oxybenzone. These chemicals are accumulating in our bodies over time. The EC Scientific Committee on Consumer Safety also noted that products should only be considered safe if oxybenzone makes up no more than 2.2% of their formula. In the US, sunscreens can contain up to 6%. However, both the EC and the FDA cited insufficient data to say for sure whether these ingredients are safe or not. So there's a big stinking question mark hanging over all of this. Thirdly, the same year, a study was conducted by Oregon State University replicating the formulations of zinc-containing sunscreens sold in the US and Europe and exposing the mixtures to UV radiation for 2 hours. The zinc oxide degraded and caused a greater than 80% loss in protection against UVA rays. It also became toxic. And you will hear this study mentioned in many natural sunscreen adverts. All this has led to a situation where you have TikTokers and YouTubers giving instructions on how you can make your own sunscreen or telling you to use tallow or coconut instead. Let's look at both sides of this argument and see what's actually going on. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, this is not medical advice. So let's look at the for argument first of all to continue using these products. Skin cancer rates have gone up and up in the UK and in the US, but not in Australia, where there's been a huge educational push to protect skin and educate people. That would suggest that sunscreens are helping. When you look at the charts showing skin cancer rates are going up through the roof, some are blaming this on the sunscreen itself, saying that the more people that use sunscreen, the higher cancer rates go. But you can argue that people are travelling to hot climates more and going to nice beaches more than when the rates were lower years back. The deaths that occurred due to skin cancer many years ago, before there was more awareness, may have been ascribed to other reasons. Also, we're much better today at spotting skin cancer compared to years ago, so all these things are probably going to mean that incidences of skin cancer are going to increase. The study which showed zinc to be toxic did not use coated zinc, which is covered in aluminium oxide or silica, which is more stable and doesn't degrade as much. Also, they tested toxicity on zebra fish, not an actual person. You'd need to use a lot more ingredient to get the same toxicity in a human. The industry already knew that zinc degrades in sunscreen and they add extra ingredients to deal with that. This study didn't uncover anything new, but the media blew it up and made a big deal of it to get more eyeballs on their platforms. So you could say that was irresponsible journalism which damaged public health. In fact, you will see many videos on social media advertising natural sunscreens who keep citing that toxic study. They say things like, zinc is poisonous, so buy our product. Without knowing the background, you can see how that sells their products using fear. Many of the TikTok posts on this subject are companies who are trying to sell something to you. There is a body of studies showing nanoparticles are safe in sunscreen, but I want to mention this one done by the EC. The study suggests that it's very unlikely that nano zinc particles can pass through the skin, and even if a very small percentage do, our bodies are very good at managing zinc, so it wouldn't cause any issue. Zinc is a mineral our body needs. The argument about sunscreen blocking vitamin D production is true. 97% of UVB rays are blocked, and they are needed for vitamin D production. However, if you're sitting on the beach all day in swimwear, that 3% of rays is still going to get through, and it's estimated to provide more than enough vitamin D. And secondly, all manufacturers admit that consumers never apply enough sunscreen, so they aren't getting the protection level stated on the bottle, which means more of that UVB is actually getting converted to vitamin D. Now let's look at the other side of the argument against why you should be using these products. Firstly, one phrase I kept seeing again and again while I've been researching this is that there are many more studies confirming sunscreen is safe than it's unsafe. But that's just saying that there's an imbalance in the number of studies done, which would mean if we had thousands of studies done proving the opposite, then the official view would change. The fact is there aren't enough studies looking into the negative effect of sunscreen because studies cost money, and who would gain? Science is only carried out when there's profit to be made. There's an underlying issue here of public confidence in official narratives. 1 minute being told something is unsafe and the government saying it's fine. The last 3 years taught us that blindly trusting the science, as our governments insisted, does not end well. A scientific publisher called Wiley announced in May 2024 that it's published over 11,000 peer-reviewed papers which are fake. The very well-paid editors and professional reviewers obviously weren't doing their job very well. Academic journals are a $30 billion industry. Now that just blows my mind. Science is paid for. Big Pharma or whoever has money will pay to get the results and the influence that they need to increase their profits. The truth is irrelevant. Even the universities, which were previously regarded as trusted educational institutions, have become money-making businesses. The result is an undermining in trust. I think we need some kind of scientific rebalance away from profit back toward neutral institutions to regain public confidence and stop the confusion. Secondly, many of these papers and studies say to avoid spray-on nano sunscreens that can easily be inhaled. Even though the nanoparticles can't officially penetrate the skin, they are thought to be able to cause damage to lungs, and most people are unaware of that. Thirdly, all these studies are on healthy skin, so if you have broken, scratched skin or some kind of issue, then the safety of these products is not assured. Number 4, asbestos was considered safe in the UK till 1985, so was tobacco till 1964. Scientists would have provided proof of its safety back in the day, so whatever proof we have of anything is subject to change as new evidence emerges, and that's clear when you look at government documents stating sunscreens are safe. Somewhere near the end of the text it will say, based on current evidence, more research is needed. They're giving themselves a get out clause so you can't sue them in future. So, as a conclusion, what should you do? I don't think you should panic when you see these types of videos and articles. Use your discernment to see whether they're trying to sell you something, and if they mention a study, then look it up. Nobody should suddenly stop using sunscreen. That could lead to you getting burnt or even worse. To err on the side of caution, I avoid all those listed ingredients when I'm looking for products. If there's even a slight doubt over their safety, then why would you use them on your skin, or even worse, on your children's? This is going to give you a headache, literally, as the ingredients listed on these bottles is tiny and it may cost more, but at least you have peace of mind. So this is a sunscreen which I've been using for the last 5 years. It's called Ultra Sun SPF 50 and it's their sports gel. So it's kind of a watery product which is not too heavy, there's no white cast, and it doesn't contain any of those nasties. So I've been really happy with this, and I will link this below. Secondly, I would not try making my own products, and I'd stick to industrially prepared ones which are made to certain standards. The ingredients are mixed to ensure an even protection. Inhaling zinc or titanium particles when you're trying to make your own is not going to be good for your health. Some of these TikTok posts are using uncoated zinc, which will degrade just like the experiment, and it's also lumpy. It will form clumps rather than giving you a smooth layer on your skin. So that means probably you're going to have a very low protection, and you're not going to realize till it's too late and you're burnt. Thirdly, whether you trust the advice on nanoparticles or not is up to you, but you can easily check the ingredients list and it will indicate whether it's zinc or whether it's nano zinc, and you can make your choice. Any spray-on products I would 100% avoid, as you don't want to inhale any of those chemicals. Plus, most of it gets blown away in the wind when you're on the beach trying to spray it on your body, and you're also probably not getting anywhere near enough on your skin. So what about sunscreen blocking vitamin D? This study says a Caucasian adult in the UK would need around 15 minutes sun exposure on arms and legs at midday 3 times a week in the summer to get adequate vitamin D production from the sun. That's without any sunscreen, and it doesn't matter if you wear shades or cover your face, as the skin on your head is quite a small area, so it wouldn't make much difference. The further away from the equator you are and the darker your skin, the more time is needed for you to get optimal levels. So I give myself 10 to 15 minutes exposure without any sunscreen before I start to apply it. But in the UK, we don't get a lot of sun. So most of the year I'm supplementing with vitamin D3, K2 and magnesium. If you want to try this, you can use code 10years at checkout, and you do get saving at donotage.org, and I'll link this below. But finally, don't just rely on sunscreen to protect you. Make sure you also use hats, clothing, sunglasses, parasols on the beach, everything else. Even the Australian government is saying that sunscreen alone is not enough, as they know most people don't apply anywhere near enough products. So I want to know what you think about this debate. Do you think sunscreen is essential, or is it a scam? Have you found a product which doesn't contain any of those nasties? If so, please comment below. Is there a topic you'd like me to cover in a future video? Comment below. If you like this video, please consider giving me a thumbs up and a subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.